It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue-focused late-night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission is to inspire. Our mission really at the end of the day is really to empower and then to give entrepreneurs the resources, and they need a lot of resources that are necessary to continue to execute the vision that they have inside them for the people they were called to serve. And today we have on this episode the one and only Taurea Vision Avant. And the topic, the keynote, I guess we'll be talking about today is how coaches or speakers or anyone for that matter of fact can really write a book, earn $10,000 per month by having that book out there without working a bunch of hours. Isn't that kind of cool? So with that being said, let me invite a returning guest and probably the initiator of the whole Happy Entrepreneur Show, the only crazy person that was something that was an idea 7 years ago said, sure, Shay, I'll come on. I'm not even sure we had any viewers back then, by the way, but she was there and she played full out. So Taurea, what's going on? How are you, my friend?
I am doing amazing. First of all, thank you so much for having me back. I'm so excited, truly, honestly, just to see all the great things that are taking place with you, and definitely happy to be back with the Happy Entrepreneur Show because, baby, happiness is a choice, and I choose to be happy, okay?
I appreciate that. And, for folks that are listening, because they could be a dualpreneur. They could be someone who works a full-time job. They come home, take care of the family. They take care of the kids. They're involved in the community, involved in the organizations that they're a part of. And there are leaders that are watching, by the way, right now. And many of them are always saying, Shay, I'm writing this book. And then I see them again. Shay, I'm writing the book. Some folks, I'm raising my hand, I'm one of them. It's been 3, 4, 5 years, and they've been writing the book. So before we get into how they make money, talk about why folks just don't get it done. Why is there procrastination when writing a book? What is their story?
Well, first of all, I believe the #1 reason why a lot of people don't get these books done is because they have not attached the person who's reading it or will read it. They haven't attached why they need their book to it. Like what I mean, for example, and I like to kind of share this analogy. When you are working on this book, what I want you to think about is that person that is sitting on the edge of their bed and they're literally having this enough is enough moment. Something just happened, the straw that broke the camel's back, and they're literally saying to themselves like, enough is enough. I can't deal with this anymore. I need help. And you have to think about them going to Google and saying, how do I da, 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 da. And literally whatever it is that they're Googling, they'll pay for it. And you need to be the one to get in front of them. So when you don't attach like that actual person, like you don't connect a person reading your book and saying, you know what, Shay, this book has changed my life. Thank you forever. And you imagine it over and over again, there's not going to be a sense of urgency because right now in your mind, you're just like, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it. But no. There is someone right now on their bed having an enough is enough moment. So we've got to stop hesitating on this because they need us. And so that's how I think about it now. Like literally, I think about that person.
Yeah, okay. But, sometimes, and I might be the only one, ladies and gentlemen, so because she's here and I'm here, they might be thinking, okay, do I share my story? Do I have to do that and put that in the book? Or can I share, what I'm good at, like my expertise? Because I like this kind of stuff over here. How do you help folks even decide where to start? Because, I've been guilty of saying this. I got so many things that I want to do a book about, and then I don't do anything.
That is typically always the case, right? The challenge with life is that everybody out here is lifing, right? And we've been through so many different things, so many ups and downs, so many challenges. The question that I have for you is, can you pick one challenge? In fact, Dr. Miles Monroe said it. He said, God's going to give us a lot of skill sets, a lot of talents, but you could literally make a living off of one of those. And so you figure out what's the one thing that you've been able to overcome. Was it a heartbreak? Was it dealing with a health ailment? Was it losing a loved one? Maybe you were fired from your job or you learned how to launch a business in 90 days or less. Pick just one thing. You got to trust me on this. One of those things somebody is going to relate to. Some bodies are going to relate to. And so you put that one, idea behind like what you've been through. Now, Shay, I know you know this because you've taught public speaking before in the past. whenever you want to earn the ear or earn the eye of someone, you also still have to make sure that they can relate to who you are. So I don't ever recommend people until like you walk into a room where all 5,000 people know who you are. Generally, that's not, it's not time to write a biography memoir, right? A lot of times people not really looking for your life story. However, they are looking to know that you can relate. So if I'm going to tell you how to be able to, get that raise where, on a job where you're not being respected, or how to be able to get, the dream girl or the dream guy, or how to be able to trim down those pounds. Well, baby, can you tell me how you did it first? Or tell me about your story. So yes, I do believe that in a portion of your book, you're going to give that information about how you were able to achieve that specific transformation, but then you want to give tips. Now, again, back to what I was saying, Shay, a lot of times the challenges that I see most of all is that we have so many different things we know how to do. There's so many different things. I mean, and trust me, I know, because I was trying to teach people how to do websites, social media, public speaking, book writing, and baby, I was so spread thin. And it wasn't until I made a decision to hone in and niche it down to one space that I was able to actually reduce my workload. I work about 2 to 4 hours a day. We make way over $10,000, not even just a month, but a week. Okay, we're doing very well here. And I don't want to work that hard. So I want to show you guys how to be able to take one specific transformation that you have experienced in your life, put it in a book, and then leverage that book to build multiple streams of income.
Do you mind if I ask a question? That was really good, by the way. And the question I have here is, how does one know, or what should someone look for when they're like, okay, she has a point. Everything she's saying, I need to do. Now I need to decide who can best help me get the book done. Do I first have to work with someone to help coach me to be excited about doing it? Do I what should I look for if that's the case? Do I try to find someone that could be my copyright editor and my ghostwriter? Okay. Then I got to go find someone who knows how to, I don't know, once it's done, make sure it's done correctly. And then do I got to run over here and get someone to design the book? The question is, and I know they can work with you, so this is a good way for you to explain, but if you had to give them, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3 or 4 things to look for before they write the check to someone, what would you recommend? And what would you suggest? And those folks that are listening, as she's saying this, she'll maybe give an example or two of folks that maybe her agency has worked with as well, because that's something that I know that she does that separates her, I believe, from someone else.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you this too. I also do have an announcement. We no longer even do our book camps anymore, because at the beginning of this year, I wanted to focus on showing authors how to be able to make money, which was initially why I got into the space. And so instead of me being the one to show them how to write the book, I've actually expanded to a program called Elite Publishers Group, where I've partnered with other publishers in different genres, from children's books to even those who still, maybe you are a matriarch and you're like, no, Taurea, I got to tell my story because I need my family to know about the history so we can pass this on down. Or maybe you want to be able to write a technology or technical type book, or even the self-help book, which is what I used to teach. I believe the first thing that you need to do is, number one, is like, this is with any kind of person that you're going to hire for a service or any of that coaching. Like, what are the results that they're getting, right? So before I go to anyone, I want to kind of see, like, who is it that you're helping and how are you helping them? Now, this is the deal. I'm also not a big believer in just writing a book just to say that you wrote a book. Okay, I believe that you should write a book so that you can be able to build an income from it. And so the question is then, how are you going to help me once the book is done? Or do you have the proper connections to connect me with somebody else? I'm going to give you a couple of simple steps on how to write the perfect self-help book, okay? Now, once you've identified what the book is going to be about, now you want to go ahead and start working on what I like to call the foundation. I recommend your book be either 7 or 10 chapters. 7 and 10 are some of the most recognizable numbers all over the world. They're not very invasive or very overwhelming. They're easy numbers, 7 or 10. Then you create 4 to 6 subchapters. Now, I typically recommend, especially with self-help books, 7 steps to this, 7 secrets to that, 7 reasons why. Make it very simple. Now, I won't go into titles and all of that, but I'll give you some of those later on down the line. But you turn those 7 chapters into 4 to 6 subchapters. Now, to create the content, y'all listening? If you are really good at typing, you're going to type 5 minutes per subchapter, okay? 5 minutes per subchapter. If you're not a good typer and you like to speak like me, you can then go ahead and record audio of you answering, or really you're going to take those subchapters and turn them into questions. And you can take a subchapter and record audio of you literally answering that question to create the content for that subchapter. And you record it for 2.5 minutes. I always say, because sometimes we might have brain fart. So give yourself maybe up to 3 different times to actually get the content. And then that's how you create, for the most part, your foundation of your book. Shay, if you were to really equate how many hours that is under 3 to 4 hours to get a book done. Now, you write a book to write another book. I know you've heard of John C. Maxwell, right?
Yeah.
Well, so Shay, I had a chance.
Yes, I have.
I had a chance to meet. I had a chance to meet him a couple years ago, right? I said the dumbest thing. Sometimes I'm so corny when I meet people, y'all. I can be really very awkward socially, so a lot of times I just don't say stuff. So I met John C. Maxwell, and I was like, oh my God, I love you, and I tell everybody about you. And he was just looking at me like, okay, come on, let's take a picture. So I took a picture, but anyways, he was telling us how he has come out with more than 16 editions of 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. He has over 100 different books on leadership. See, the challenge that many of us are having is we think that book has to be perfect. Betty, as long as we live and breathe, every single day, there's always going to be something new. So get the book done. And then if you got to do another 2nd edition, cool. If you got to do a 3rd edition, cool. If you got to keep on improving upon it, cool. But the worst thing that can happen is, God forbid, God calls us home and we don't have our information down. We're not leaving legacy. We can't pass that on down. So stop hesitating and go out there and get it done. And if you got to improve upon it, just improve upon it. But that's kind of like my quick notes. But I do have a little bit more in-depth training that I can hook you guys up with for free once we get towards the end.
Well, for folks that are listening and watching right now, one place you can go, you can head over to 10kbook.com, 10kbook.com. I'll just drop that there. She's going to tell you how she can get some cool stuff from her, but I just want to know if you're sitting around, you're like, hey, Shay, I understand you're reading the bio right now. So you're saying, whoa, Shay, Hampton, I like that. HBCU in the building. Got it. Oh, got it, Shay. Wait a minute. She knows something about writing books. Wait a minute. She's helped many authors, over 1,000 authors, earn $10,000 per month. Got it, Shay. You're heading over now to 10kbook.com. Again, www.10kbook.com. And then there's a group of you out there that are like me. You're like, Shay, that sounds cool, but what's her story? Can she take a moment and slow down? I mean, I got some good stuff. I'm feeling her. But what's her story? Where does this passion come from? So, Taurea, in all fairness, I know the world knows you. I get that. But can you take a moment, because some of our audience are meeting you for the very, very first time. And I'd like for you to share a little about who you are and the origin of your story that led you to doing what you're doing now.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start with, I used to always hear my mentors say this. I was born at a very young age. No, I'm just joking. But originally I'm from Virginia. Both of my parents were Air Force. And as Shay said, I did end up staying in Virginia and going to school there at the illustrious Hampton University, darling. But like many college graduates, when I graduated, y'all, it was tough. I was busted, broke, busted, and disgusted, as I like to say. The BBDs, I had a case of the BBDs. But I've always aspired to be an entrepreneur. I mean, by that time, I had been a professional tripreneur when I graduated from college, trying everything, selling knives, vacuum cleaners. I went door to door. I was at Bell's Bondsman. Is that how you say Bell's Bondsman? Bail Bondsman. Now, before I even got into this journey of entrepreneurship at the age of 11 years old, I lost my mom due to cirrhosis of the liver. And if anybody knows what cirrhosis of the liver is, you typically know where that came from. So I want you to imagine from 1 to 11, that's who I spent my years with primarily. My father was in the Air Force, but he was always stationed. So it was definitely a tough coming up. I think that's what created such a tough interior, and also a sense of independence, because I was independent a lot of the time. And this is no shade on my mom, because my mom was just an absolutely incredible woman. Unfortunately, she just had a challenge that, it was a disease. But I moved in with my father, and now my father is like my everything. And long story short, now I'm working in corporate, and I was a tripreneur for a short period of time, gave up on that, and I get a call that my father, I'm 26 years old, is going to the hospital. And long story short, we find out that he has stage 4 lung cancer. Now, I have watched my father have open heart surgery. I watched my father get clean from drugs and alcohol and help thousands of people get clean. So for me, that was not a big deal. I didn't know how many stages cancer had at the time. I just felt like, oh, this is just another thing that we're going to get through, because my dad is Superman. And 7 months later, I realized that he was not. That's also when I realized that you also cannot want more for people than they want for themselves. But at that moment, and I'll never forget it, Shay, it's like I remember this like yesterday. When we went to his celebration service, he wanted to be cremated. And there was this guy there that was originally from India. So he wasn't Indian American, he was from India. And he came over and spoke, and I could see how he was just so beside himself. I mean, he could barely walk. And as he was walking out the door, he fell to his knees. Like you could see him through like the little partition. And I remember at that moment thinking to myself, I wonder, did my dad know how much of an impact he had on this man's life? And so the reason why I go as hard as I do, and I've always tried to figure out something that I could do, is because I remember wondering if he knew that he impacted people. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to question that. When it is all said and done, I don't want to question if I impacted people. So that's when I made that decision that I was going to go out here and do something. Now, along this journey, I never knew what I was going to do exactly, but every single time, I've always found a vehicle that has allowed me to get to the next level. Long story short, I wrote my first book when I used to be in network marketing. I was a 6-figure earner in the industry. I never realized how writing that book could open up doors. And it was like, it changed the whole perspective, when it came to people and they looked at me as an entrepreneur or one of them pyramid people, they looked at me differently. And I wanted to show people how to be able to build this level of authority as well. And so, my drive has come from the fact that I don't want to ever have to question if I'm impacting someone's life. And my vision now, it definitely comes from God, but my vision is to be able to impact people in ways so I can show them how to build multiple streams of income and truly live the life that they want to live. Now, I could go into deeper and talking about more things in my story. We all have life, right? Right, Shay? Life.
Yeah.
We've all had challenges, and I'm here to let you guys know that no matter what, like wherever you are chasing or whatever you are chasing, it's always going to be something. It's always going to be something, but you got to stay focused on the end in mind. And nobody is ever inspired by someone who says, well, I made it to the top. It didn't have no problems. So that's a little bit about my story. I think that's a part of my story that you probably didn't know everything of. So I wanted to share something new here on the show.
No, thank you so much for being transparent. Thank you for being open. Very, very personal, deep story. And I appreciate that. And that's what the Happy Entrepreneur Show is all about. There's going to be some setbacks. There's going to be some challenges. There's going to be some problems. And if someone thinks that life then present problems, then they're probably in the wrong world. Okay. But the courage that you had to go through it, and the reason why you do what you do, and why they hear the passion, because I can hear it coming through these fiber optic lines. I wanted them to know the backstory behind it. So thank you so much. Can we answer the big question that I know that every entrepreneur has been asking, it, which is $10,000 a month from a book? A book is, I don't know, $12 these days, or maybe $20 these days. And Shay, she's saying $10,000 per month. Like, no, she did say $10,000 per month. No. The website is www.10kbook.com. I mean, that is the real website. I mean, that you go to that's real. So why don't I turn it over to Taurea Avant to kind of break down this whole concept of 10K per month. And you, as you're listening, as you're tuning in, listen as if, maybe you have a book, maybe you have 4 books, maybe you're 10 times bestseller, but it's time to make more money so you can have
Yes.
more meaning in the world. It's time to have more impact, and you need
Yeah.
the income, and the time has come to do that. As my good friend Delator McNeil would say, it's time to make a dollar and a difference at the same time. And the person that can do that, I believe, is Taurea Avant. So Taurea Avant, talk about this 10K per month. We did here per month. It says it. I mean, that's what you put in the title, per month. Talk about that, please.
And might I clarify, for those of y'all who like, well, 10K per month sounds cute. Well, we can do the same thing per week or even per day. The formula doesn't change. The biggest mistake that authors make is they write a book to sell a book. Now, y'all, let me just tell you something. So I teach to sell your book for $20, and if you're shipping it, plus a $4.99 or $5 shipping and handling fee. On average, most of you will profit about $15 if you are selling your book on your own website and not using any of these big companies out here that tell you that you should sell on their site so they can build up their database. We won't get into that. But if you are selling it on your own website, on average, you're making about $15 a book. I've already done the calculations. In order to make $10,000, you literally have to sell 667 books every month. Now, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No. Most people are not going to sell 667 books every single month. And if you sell it on the other websites, let's just go ahead and triple that, okay? So what I teach is that you take a book and you turn it into multiple streams of income. Now, Shay, I know that you happen to have a lot of speakers here, a lot of coaches here, a lot of entrepreneurs here that plug into you. I'm just going to use for the simple example of a massage therapist, because who don't like a massage, right? So for most people, a massage therapist will think about writing a book about massages. Very linear. Like, no, nobody's buying a book about massages. People are going to buy a book about what massages do for them. So let's say that your target audience is a six-figure, high-earning corporate professional or something like that, but they earn money. They make good money, okay? And so you're going to write a book about why corporate is killing XYZ, right, over stress. And so you're going to write a book about overcoming stress. And one of the tips is get weekly or at least bi-monthly massages, right? So you're going to get those massages, but you'll give some additional tips in there on things that they need to do to relieve their stress. Because you're a massage therapist and you want to create a tool that increases your authority in this marketplace. Does that make sense? Now, Taurea, how can I make multiple streams? Because in the book, you're also going to partner with some therapists and say, hey, listen, I'm going to mention in one of my chapters about having a therapist. I want to be able to refer business to you. Can I get a commission? Then you're going to also talk about aromatherapy. Now, you might create your own aromatherapy products or you partner with somebody else. That's another stream of income. But let's just say the aromatherapy is like your middle price item. That's about $97 for this amazing kit that you might sell to individuals. Remember, we're talking about high income earning professionals. These are people who spend money, okay? And then you have a premium item, Shay. This is your massage package. Now, just the other week, I went and spent $300 for a massage because I need perks. You know what I'm saying? I want distraction. I want the aromatherapies. I need the ambiance. I don't want nothing to look dirty. And I don't want you talking me to death. So I'm going to spend money. Imagine you being able to have an ideal number of clients. Let's just say you got your package. You might get 2 massages for $697. Now, Shay, I know you're more the numbers person. So if we're charging $700 per person, how many clients do we need to have in a month to make 10,000? What is that about? Well, we know 10 is $700. So if we add another, what is that? 12, 13. So if we get 13 clients that we're charging and we build the rapport where every single month they have us on schedule. Does this make sense? So we overcomplicate this thing about being an author. You're leveraging the book because it builds you as an authority figure. Now, what I teach is how to position your book and get in front of the right people, how to leverage it so that you can get on more podcasts, how to be able to interview on amazing podcasts like this, or media, or radio shows, or speaking on stages. And so we show you how to turn that book into 4 different types of items, from a free to your high premium, and then how to work 2 to 4 hours a day, leveraging that to generate $10,000 a month. So do you see what I mean when I say $10,000 a month is not as difficult as we may think it is?
Yeah, I see it. I love it. I'm feeling it. And do you mind just bragging on yourself for a moment and maybe sharing someone that you work with along this journey? You don't have to use their name, but give us the scenario, because some people are saying, well, I work full time. Not a full-time entrepreneur. Well, maybe she knows a story like that. Like, maybe you are a full-time entrepreneur. And you're like, well, wait a minute. How do I have time to do that? Because I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do. I'm going to ask her just to give you an example, give you a framework of somebody and their backstory. And maybe you have children. You're like, well, wait a minute. She don't get it. I mean, I have kids. I mean, there's a lot going on in my life. Is it really possible? Well, let's sit back and listen as she shares maybe an example or two of individuals she's worked with and her agency has worked with, and they've been able to do this.
Oh, honey, I'm gonna give y'all a name, by the way. Y'all can look her up and ask her. Her name is Dr. Jasmine Zapata. I love using her as the example, especially for the people that come to me and they say, Taurea, but you ain't got no kids, you ain't got no husband, you not that busy, da 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 da. Y'all, she is a mother of 3. In fact, when I met her, she was only a mother of 2 and then got pregnant, had another baby. She is also a wife. She is also a pediatrician. She also serves at her church. She also has a real estate business. And then when she decided to write her book, she now is in the space of speaking. So what she started doing is she started pitching herself. She wrote this book for young girls about building up their self-esteem and confidence, right? I mean, today more than ever, guys, our children, they are dealing with it, right? And so she started pitching herself to go to these different schools while she's a pediatrician, while she's a mother, while she's a wife, and while she's also serving at her church and playing volleyball, by the way. And so she would pitch herself to go speak at these schools. Now, mind you, a lot of times schools don't even have a budget for speakers. And so she said, don't worry about it. In exchange, I want you to buy enough copies of my books for the kids. And so, yes, we'll do that. We'll go ahead and buy, because they have a different budget for educational materials. And so she has this book, and then she ended up turning her book into a curriculum. So mind you, she's speaking all over the place, talking about empowerment, encouragement. She then gets invited to come to the Today Show in New York. She's on all these major other media platforms because they're seeing this pediatrician, this wife, this mother who's out here wanting to impact young girls and build up their self-confidence. So she decided to turn her book into a workbook and then turn the workbook into a course curriculum. She also created a collaboration book with the book. And guess what, y'all? Pitched her business. I won't tell you how much she got, but she pitched her business and the course curriculum to the YMCA. Now, y'all know the YMCA is a nonprofit and they get government funding to be able to do the things that they do. Well, the first time they said, well, we're not sure. She didn't stop though. She kept on speaking at schools. She actually went on a tour and did all the things she needed to. Well, long story short, the YMCA came back to her with a multiple 5-figure deal for her to come and do a summer camp at their location in Wisconsin. Well, not only did they offer her 1 year, but they renewed the contract for this past summer. So I'm sure, I haven't even talked to her yet, but I'm sure they renewed it again for this upcoming summer. But guys, this is a woman who literally had a full schedule. But when you create a structured plan, this is the challenge. It's not about working 20 hours a day. It's about doing the small little things that nobody really praises you for. But if you're willing to do those small things on a consecutive basis over a long period of time, then you're going to end up with the major exposure. So I love using Dr. Jasmine Zapata. Y'all can hit her up. Her name is Zapata. Zapata. Yes, Jasmine Zapata out of Wisconsin. I got more. I mean, we got a lot, but I think that's a good example for people to see and not to make excuses, because your circumstance should actually be the reason why you should do what you need to do.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for sharing not only an example, but someone who, when you first started, I was like, is it possible for her? I mean, I'll be honest. I try to be the most positive person in the world, but I'm like, is it possible with all that going on? Thank you for sharing. For those folks that want to connect with you, tell them once again where they can connect with you. What's the best way, and what gift do you have for them before we get to our next segment?
Of course, absolutely. Well, you can register for my free masterclass where I teach the 3 mistakes that authors make, which keep them from making less than $10,000 a year. And then what you can do as far as getting on that path to the $10,000 a month, week, or day. So this is 10kbook.com. And if you register, y'all, I am going to actually have a training where I'm literally going to do about a 30 minute to an hour training that I'm going to post out there. Everybody on my list will get the link of literally what you need to do step by step to write the book. Because y'all, I'm not here to help you just write a book. I want to show you how to leverage it. So let's get that part out the way, because that's honestly the easiest part. The hardest part is knowing how to stay consistent, getting yourself out there. So 10kbook.com, that's where you can go to get the masterclass, as well as if you want to get copies of my books.
I love it. Thank you so much. This is so cool. Head over to www.10kbook.com. We're going to now move into a segment called Today is My January 1st. And for those folks that are listening, for those folks that are family that are always here, we love to say it. You can say it with me right now. Today is my January 1st. Today is my January 1st. Doesn't that feel good? Now, for those folks that are new, welcome to the family. Today is my January 1st. Just so you know the backstory, represents a fresh start. Today is my January 1st represents a do-over. It means my past no longer equals my future, that I don't have to wait till December 31st at 11:59 on the back of a napkin to actually start getting my stuff going. I can go now. So my question to Taurea when she hears those words, today is my January 1st, what does she hear, and what's her words of encouragement for you?
Absolutely. Well, shoot, I feel like I'm just going to duplicate what you said, Shay, because today is my January 1st absolutely means that, listen, tomorrow is gone, and today, what we going to do with it? Because, not tomorrow is gone. Yesterday is gone. Let me get it together. Yesterday is gone, and today, what we're going to do with it, because tomorrow is where we're going to leave that legacy. So we got to keep on pushing, guys. And, another thing that I love so much about today is my January 1st, which, by the way, I have my t-shirt on just the other day, is you always get an opportunity to reset. And you get an opportunity to reset everywhere, y'all. Like, a lot of times we put so much on us because of the things that we've done in our past. And, like, for real, we got to let that go. Look at the world today. Something will be a big old controversy, and within a week, people done forgot about it, right? Even the people that keep cutting up, they forgot they cut up. They cut up again. And so the truth is this. Every single day that God gives us a new opportunity to be here on this world is a new day to change. So don't dwell on the past, and let's focus forward on the future.
Today is your January 1st. Today is my January 1st. Thanks a lot, Taurea Vision Avant, for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate you. A repeat guest, by the way, and someone who always comes to serve, comes to give, and makes so much impact in the world. So thank you so much. Thank you as well for watching. I want you to know, as you're watching this right now, that you're amazing. I want you to know that you're incredible no matter what's going on for you. And for you, today indeed is your January 1st. And I believe for that reason, your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. I promise you, your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again real soon. Remember this. Time is long. It really is. Life, on the other hand, is very, very short. So you got to live in that moment, and you got to make it count. God bless. We wish you success. Thanks a lot, Taurea Vision Avant. Peace. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.